Lui, c'est Charlie Brooker, le créateur de vos pires cauchemars dystopiques et technologiques avec Black Mirror. Avec sa productrice Jessica Rhoades, il nous raconte la folle histoire de la série la plus flippante et satirique de Netflix.
So I'd done a show called Dead Set, which was like a zombie drama, and that was taking an absurd premise in a way and playing it straight, which you can see plays out in Black Mirror. Like certainly the first ever episode of Black Mirror, that's what we've done there in a way, is taken a comedy conceit in a way and played it straight. The original idea for the show was, I want to do something that's a bit like The Twilight Zone, a bit like we had a show in the UK called Tales of the Unexpected, Hammer House of Horror, anthology shows. The BBC used to put out these one-off plays which were really bizarre and sort of ideas based. And I wanted to do something that was like that was different to other shows, was timely, and was weird and wonderful and unpredictable. That was the original premise. And inevitably a lot of that involved like talking a lot about technology and stuff like that. And at the time, there weren't many other shows doing that. That was where it sort of began. I think it's partly because the way my brain tends to work, I like ideas-led things which, and I tend to catastrophize. Yes. So quite quickly I can think of like, oh, what's the worst thing that can happen in that scenario? Or the scenario itself is so bizarre, it wouldn't actually sustain over...
You got to get to it in the same episode.
Yeah, it burns out. So there's something about that I like. And I like that that's different in this day and age where there's so many shows that are, not to knock them, because I love, you know, I was like anyone, I was glued to Succession, say, right up until the final moments. But, you know, it's a long investment of your time. That's like a 40-hour masterpiece. Yeah. That's a lot, that's a big meal. We're a low commitment show. So there's something about being a different thing. You can watch one episode and leave if you want. Please don't. Please watch them all. But you can, there's something about that appeals, because again, that's slightly different in this day and age. You get anthological series where they change each season, like The White Lotus, but we're like pure individual hit anthologies. There's not many of them.
It's also neat now that it's streaming. I feel like it's so hard to talk with friends or other people about what they're watching because you don't know what episode someone's on.
That's a very good point.
With Black Mirror, you can very quickly, whether you know the episode title or not, you can quickly summarize, have you seen this one? And that's fun for, I think, it's such a, television remains such a social medium. So it's fun to actually be able to, you know, confer with people.
You ever been blocked?
I've had enough, Matthew. It's done. Stop. Not this time.
When we started, like I say, there weren't many shows that were sort of dystopian technology. And now there are quite a few. There's quite a few shows that are about, you know, evil apps destroying us or whatever. So I was sort of conscious that there was perhaps a cliched sense of what Black Mirror is that I kind of wanted to avoid. So actually, literally, in a way, I started out by not writing Black Mirror. So I started out by writing, so they actually, the order they're in is the reverse order that they were written and shot in. So Demon 79 was the first one, which I co-wrote with Bisha K. Ali, and it was sort of very much like Red Mirror, so it's almost like a companion, like a horror companion to Black Mirror, which means you don't have to think about the future, you don't have to think about computers and screens and technology, you're thinking about the past, you're thinking about completely different things. And what that then did was it disrupts the weight of expectation I would be feeling from what people think Black Mirror is. And I don't think an episode like Beyond the Sea, which is episode 3, which is traditionally a Black Mirror story in that the sort of dynamic is a high-tech thing going on, but suddenly thinking, well, I can set that in 1969, why not? Who says I have to set it now and set it within a holographic future? Something about that keeps it fresh and changes the way you're telling the stories. And then apart from that, really, it's just things that are in the ether. Beyond the Sea was an idea that had been knocking around for a while, but it's very pandemic in a way. It's all about isolation and loneliness. And then, or you'd have an episode like Joan is Awful, which is very much inspired by stuff that's going on to do with AI-generated material or the trend for prestige dramas based on things that only just happened.
I think one of Charlie's genius traits is what he'll say naturally, but taking some idea to its worst conclusion, where most of us would hang out somewhere maybe at an 8. He goes straight to an 11 or 12, and I think with that comes a wild ride.
I do tend to worry. That's the thing, I'm an instant worrier. I'm glad that you called it a genius trait and not a terrible hindrance.
I mean, it holds you back in some ways, but it creates a brilliant series.
Oh, good, I hope so. But my background also is in comedy in the UK, and actually I think you see a lot of people who are into comedy are also into horror or into sort of like because it's all about awkward worst case scenarios, right? So and absurd things suddenly happening and taking you like completely
bad timing.
unawares, bad timing, and all the rest of it. So it's a sort of similar toolkit, I guess, in a way. When thinking of the ideas, I'm usually laughing.
Konbini!